Welcome back to another episode of Nonsense FM. I'm going to be 100% honest. I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't plan for this. I had absolutely no intention of recording an episode tonight. I just recorded the last episode 2 days ago. So I really had nothing planned. I didn't have anything that I really wanted to talk about. Like I said, I didn't plan on recording an episode, but here we are. Because I had a shitty day at work, and instead of letting it get to me when I came home and sitting around and being all sad and shit, I just decided, let me pretend like I'm talking to a room full of strangers for an hour or something like that. I'm essentially sitting in a room in my house talking to myself for an hour, pretending like I'm talking to an audience as if I was on the radio or something like that. But I was always told that I had a face made for radio, so maybe it's fitting. But yeah, shitty day at work. I did what I shouldn't have. I let it get to me while I was at work. I'm going to try not to do it again tomorrow. But we came home, we made some motherfucking spaghetti, and now we're sitting down doing a podcast. It's the greatest day of my life. So I don't know if you could hear that or not, but I just cheers the microphone. This podcast is brought to you, not actually sponsored. I wish they would, by the Jameson mixed stuff in a can. Like this is the Jameson ginger and lime, like pre-mixed whiskey and mixer or whatever in a can. It's not the best thing in the world. It's a little sip test. Not the best thing in the world, but it gets the job done when you have a few of them. So I'm definitely not complaining. I had a point that I was going to get to, and I completely forgot. But it was always my dream to kind of be on the radio. I always had not really a dream, but I always kind of thought it'd be cool to be on the radio. But I don't know. I feel like radio stations are kind of going downhill a little bit. They have been. Like, I feel like not as many people listen to the radio. I know I don't. I don't even have. I took the antenna off of my truck because every time I went through the car wash, it would like just sit there and just fucking sling back and forth around. I thought it was gonna like snap off or like hit my windshield and like crack it or some shit. I don't know. It's kind of like the same thing as like seeing a ceiling fan shake and you think it's gonna fall on you, but it was always just annoying. Just kind of like just sitting every time you go through the car wash, it's just blah, 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 just all over the place. So I just took it off because I was like, I literally never listened to the radio. I only ever listen to Spotify, or usually Spotify. That's what music, podcasts, all that stuff. It's all Spotify. And then sure enough, like a week later, my like Apple CarPlay or whatever, like my Bluetooth in my vehicle was not working. So then I just rode in silence to work for a couple of days because it just stopped working. And then all of a sudden it started working again, so it was fine. But just for like a couple of days, right after I took the antenna off, it was just like, nope. So I just rode around in silence. I shouldn't have drank these because it's like super carbonated, and I feel like I'm going to be burping a lot. So if I accidentally burp into the mic, I apologize. But yeah, you should. It's only something that you can get on my OnlyFans. You don't get that for free. Just kidding. I always thought it would be cool to be on the radio. I always really thought it would be cool too to be like a voice actor for like a video game or something like that, or just like an animated TV series, not like a kid show or something. I want to be like I'm a pretty vulgar person. I couldn't be like doing a voice on Doc McStuffins or like what do the kids watch now? I think like Bluey. That's a big one. Do the kids still watch Paw Patrol? I don't know. This is 2023. Do kids still watch Paw Patrol? Because I remember like that was long after my time. Like I was a Bob the Builder and Blue's Clues kid, like all the way, and like the early life of Dora when that was pretty. Because then I got like I saw a few years ago, they have like all these spin-offs of Dora. They had like the Diego show, and then it was like her sister or something like that had a spin-off show. But I remember like OG Dora, Swipe or No Swiping, the little blue cow that had like the bandana on it. That was my Dora, right? And I remember Blue's Clues with motherfucking Steve. All right, let me tell you something. I don't care how many drugs he did. I don't. That's what I heard. The reason that they replaced him with, what was that motherfucker's name? Joe. Joe. Not my Blue's Clues guy. No. Now, everyone was talking about, Trump and Biden, not my president. No. Joe, not my Blue's Clues guy. No. You're going to pull out your stupid little fucking notepad and pretend you're Steve? You're going to try and pretend... Not my Blue's Clues guy. No, but I remember Steve. Steve was great. Love Steve. I don't care if he did a bunch of drugs. Like all of the Barney guys, they do drugs too. Like the guys in the Barney costumes, they do drugs too. They go through those guys like they go through underwear, man. Like they just rotate them in and out. But I mean, you're gonna sit there and tell me, like, especially with Barney, like at least with Blue's Clues, like I feel like it was just Steve, like in a green screen set by himself, just doing like that fake little running thing where with his arms, so he kind of like jogged in place, and then just talked to the salt and pepper shakers and like the fake kids that would sit there and scream at him, "It's a clue! It's a clue!" Like, I feel like, at least with that, like, you're just kind of on a set by yourself. I'm assuming that's what it was. It was just on a set by himself, and then they voiced in all the other stuff. But with Barney, there's a bunch of little fucking heathens just running around while you're in a dinosaur costume, sweating your ass off. And you just got kids yelling at you. Like, they probably cut out all the good stuff where some kid got scared and, like, punched Barney in the dick or something like that. Like, I'd be pissed off, too. But I'm trying to make it in Hollywood. You're damn right I'm going to do some drugs. I'm going to do a lot of drugs. I can't blame him. And even with Steve. I mean, you're sitting there talking to an imaginary audience for a long time. There's a good chance that I might start doing drugs too. But yeah, you're just sitting there talking to yourself, or like, pretending to talk to somebody. This is exactly what I'm doing right now, so I might become a drug addict here pretty soon. Who knows? But I can't blame him. But yeah, Steve was 10 times better than Joe. Look, not to say that Joe's a bad guy. I'm sure Joe was a great guy. Just not my Blue's Clues guy. All right. Also, didn't know for the longest time the Blue was a girl. I mean, they never really said one way or the other, but for some reason, I always assumed that Blue was a boy. Because didn't they have a pink dog on Blue's Clues too? I feel like they had a pink dog on Blue's Clues that had like a little bow in its hair, and I think that was supposed to be the presumed female of the show. But then I heard that Blue was a girl as well. So if that's true, I mean, there's nothing against it, but it's like, why would you make one that is definitely 100% like undeniably supposed to be the female dog, and then one that's, because like Blue, you have to think like traditionally like baby colors and stuff like that, like pink and purple. I think it was mainly pink. Like that means like a baby girl, and then like blue means like a baby boy. So it's like, how are you gonna bring on the pink dog and be like, nah, this is the girl dog, and then be like, but also the one that we made you think was the boy dog is actually a girl dog. It looks nothing similar, completely different. I don't know. Maybe I'm just old school. Maybe I'm just old. I don't know. I feel old. I remember Bob the Builder too. Bob was the goat. Can we fix it? Yes, we can. I also grew up on this like early days of SpongeBob. Like SpongeBob came out, I think, a few years before I was born, in '99. Sorry, not a few months before I was born in '99. I think SpongeBob came out in like the summer of '99. I grew up on SpongeBob, like the old school Fairly Odd Parents. And those were some great cartoons. Like, don't get me wrong, like Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry. Those are the goats, right? Those are the goats. Undeniably the goats. You can't top them. They're always going to be, like, in the Hall of Fame as, like, the icons. But you can have other greats, right? Like, you can take any kind of sport or anything like that, or in music or whatever. Like, you're going to have your icons. And I don't mean people who are like the term is like thrown around so much right now. My brother uses that term. My younger brother uses that term all the time. Iconic. They're an icon. I'm talking like old school, true icons. Like they are the legends. You're always gonna have this. You can have other greats and stuff like that. I think SpongeBob and Fairly Odd Parents back in the day. I think those are the greats, right? Not the goats, not the greatest of all time. Tom and Jerry, God, dude, I could watch Tom and Jerry for hours. I could watch Tom and Jerry for days. Don't even get me started on Looney Tunes, bro. You had Bugs Bunny, and then when Bugs Bunny got together with Daffy Duck, Yosemite Sam, all of those guys. Oh my god, oh my god. I mean, it is literally. I remember like watching Tom and Jerry and Looney Tunes and like just watching the same episode on repeat and then watching like the same little part of the episode just on repeat because I would literally sit there and cry laughing. I don't know why. I loved that shit so much. So, I don't know how we got there. Oh, we're talking about children's cartoons. Oh yeah, because I was talking about wanting to be a voice actor, but not for like a kid show. I don't want to be like on Doc McStuffins. I think even Doc McStuffins is old now. I remember my little cousin watching that one. I think, and then like Bluey. I heard Bluey's like a really good one though. I thought I heard something different, but then I feel like I saw recently like a couple of things where Bluey was like actually like informational. It was good for kids, like experts. Which maybe I'm thinking of something else. Maybe there's you never know. Like sometimes I'll read something and I'll read something else. I'm like, wait, what? There was a controversy, but now it's the greatest thing ever. I don't know. So if Bluey's a piece of shit, I apologize, but I thought that I read that he was a good guy and the show was good. I remember Paw Patrol though. I got the jingle stuck in my head now, but I don't remember the guy's name or any of the dogs' names. But I remember there's like, all the like there's the firefighter dog and he was like a Dalmatian. And I think the cop dog was supposed to be a German Shepherd, but they made him look all like cute and like sweet and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, German Shepherds are like my favorite dogs. Like they're beautiful, but they're not like all cute and sweet and stuff like that. Like looking, like they can be like super cute and sweet and like super cuddly and stuff like that. But they look like a badass. They look like they'd fuck you up. But yeah, I would love to. I'd love to be a voice actor in like a video game or like some kind of like animation. I think that'd be really fun. I told you I had absolutely no idea where I was going with this or why I even started recording. I'm just kind of rambling on because I don't have anything really to talk about. I didn't plan anything. I didn't set anything aside. I do, however, I'd set aside a while back a list. I like started putting together a list of a few different topics that I thought would be fun to talk about at some point. And then I realized, because I was like, wait, I think I have that list. Maybe I could just do that. And I realized that I only wrote 2 things down. But I figured we could at least go over those, and that might be entertaining. The only thing is I only have 2 things written down. The first one, I thought this would be fun to talk about, or at least insightful, is a degree worth it in today's like day and age? Is it worth it to go to college and get a degree? And then right underneath that, I have, which is worse, to have somebody piss or shit on your mom's grave? Oh, it's so bad. The reason I thought of it, I heard another creator do like a which is worse, on this as well. I think it was a Reddit story where a person was talking about how their mom's ex-husband, they found out through like some cameras that for years, I think it was years, he was periodically going back to the grave of their mother, which was his ex-wife, periodically going back to her grave and defiling it with urine, feces, and all of that. So I'm assuming that they had separated and divorced prior to her dying. I hope he wasn't just like an angry widower that's just like, you left me, and then just like peed on her. So I'm assuming that this was pre this is a pre death divorce. And so they set up cameras and they found that for like a very, very long time, it was like periodically, it wasn't like every day, but it was frequent enough to be very concerning. I mean, it's always very concerning, but to be very concerning. Apparently, the guy was even remarried, and I might be remembering it wrong, but I want to say that the new wife came with him. But that I could be making that up. But regardless, that's the two things that I wrote down. So I don't know which one to start with. I'm thinking I'm gonna start mild and say, is a degree worth it in today's day and age? I mean, like a traditional like bachelor's degree, like 4-year college, going and doing the whole thing. Because I am a proud student or a college dropout. I went for give or take like 2 years. It was probably about 2 years worth of college, if not a little bit more, like through summer classes, through some classes I took in high school, being a student full time, all that fun stuff. And I just decided I was like, I like making money more. I was making good money. The job I was working, I had the potential to make more money if I went on full time, and so I just decided, you know what, we can always go back. We'll do it later. I've also seen people who get a degree and don't necessarily like regret getting the degree, but then they're stuck with student debt. They spent a lot of time sitting in a classroom and getting a degree, something that they're no longer interested in. They're not doing that job anymore. The age also, you hear it all the time. It's a big debate. Should people get a degree, or should they go to a trade school, or should they just not get a degree at all? My 2 cents. I think for a job that absolutely 100% requires it, like a doctor, or really that's it. Because like I think like even like I was gonna say doctors or lawyers, but I think if you study long enough and you can pass the bar and you know all of the information, then why can't you be a lawyer? As long as because here's the thing, like a lawyer, like you're gonna find out. People are gonna find out if you're a bad lawyer. All right, like you can't really fudge your way through that. You mess up enough people's lives, and they'll be like, "Hey, maybe time for a career change." And I feel like that's one. Like what can you learn sitting in a classroom at this 4-year university or however long that you can't learn reading textbooks or anything like that? I don't know. Maybe I just watched too much of that show Suits that used to be on TV. Great show, by the way. I still remember like that. I think it was like the first episode when he was like meeting with the guy and he's giving him all these questions, and the entire time he's like playing solitaire on the dude's computer. Hilarious. So I don't know anything about being a lawyer, but we'll say doctors, lawyers, like that kind of stuff. Where it's like you kind of need to know some shit, right? But other degree, like other careers, like why? Why do you need a degree to do? I'm blanking on examples, but why do you need a degree for some of these jobs? And more importantly, why are some of these jobs requiring a degree? That's my biggest thing. Is like, why are you requiring a degree, asking for X amount of years of experience and all this other stuff? Like, oh, we need you to have a bachelor's degree in this major, this field of study, and then you have to have 5 years of experience, and you need to do this, you need to do that. It's like, but why? I interviewed for a job one time, and I met with the owner, and he owner of the company, and he straight up told me, he says, but to be honest, the fact that you're not degreed is kind of, he didn't say like it bothers him, but he was like, I'm envisioning my managerial team. Like when I envision my managerial team, they're all degreed. So the fact that you're not degreed, it doesn't mean I'm not gonna hire you. I understand that you have experience, but it is kind of a factor. Um, but I mean, there's apparently two other guys who were degreed that were interviewing for the position, and I ended up getting the job. So maybe they maybe I just took the lowest offer. I don't know. Um, but you know, with some of these jobs that the companies are looking for somebody to be degreed. What gets me though is that like they don't care what the degree is in, right? It's not like some places would be like a degree in this field of study, this major, whatever. Okay, fine. But when I see just bachelor's degree required, with no specification on what kind of like what degree, like what field of study, what major, anything like that, that's like why? Why are you cutting out such a large pool of people? And maybe that's their goal. It should just weed out people who are barely made it through high school, don't have any kind of ambition. Maybe then they're thinking, they're like, all right, if somebody's ambitious enough to get a degree, they'll be ambitious enough to work here. But on the flip side of that, why would you cut out all of the people that were ambitious enough to take that leap and not go to college and just get hard knock experience? Why would you cut them out completely of your opportunity pool just so that you can have somebody who has a degree? From my personal experience, the only thing that not having a degree has stopped me from was applying to certain places. And in turn kind of limits kind of when I am looking for a job, it does kind of limit the field of search, if that's the right term. But other than that, it hasn't held me back thus far in life. Maybe it will later. Like I said, it was almost an issue at one place that I worked for, to where the owner was possibly, I don't know if he was just not considering me or if maybe I wasn't at the top of his consideration list at the time simply because I was not degreed. But so far in life, I have not personally ran into any issues where not having a degree has held me back from anything. And I've held managerial positions. I've held technically a director position, but it wasn't really a director. But we're going to call it managerial positions. And so, I'd say, is it worth it? I don't know. I guess it depends on, what you're looking to do. And I couldn't tell you. Like I said, from personal experience, no. It wasn't worth it for me. It wasn't worth it for me to keep sitting in a classroom, spending money, wasting my time and energy on something that I ultimately hated. I didn't want to be there. I mean, why was I spending money being miserable? For me, that's just what it kind of came down to. Like, I was spending all of this money being miserable doing something that I hated, whereas at the time, I actually really enjoyed my job, and it's like, man, I'm making good money. I could be making pretty much almost double what I'm making if I went full time at this position. Like, why would I not go for that? Why would I not do that? So I know lots of people who sat through college and wish that they had done something else. I know some people who didn't go to college, regretted it, ended up going, got their degree, and now they're happy. So, I don't know if I can really say, for me, I don't think it's worth it. I would much rather believe that going to some form of trade school or going to somewhere where you can just get the experience or the knowledge that you need. Like there needs to be options, and maybe there is, and maybe they're just not talked about enough. But you got to think that there needs to be options as opposed to a 4-year university where to you're sitting in a classroom for 4 years and going to college for 4 years and spending hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's got to be an alternative to that. There needs to be. If you wanted to get a degree in business marketing, right? You can go to some of the top schools in the country and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. But what's the alternative, right? The only alternatives that I really know of is to watch YouTube videos, or there's some places out there that have like free or like pretty decently priced like courses, even some like that are actually accredited, but they're like certification courses. I have one. I was working on another one at one point. I haven't touched it in a while, but these certification courses that you can do that aren't, they might be a couple $100, they might be $10, they might be free, so there is that, and there's YouTube videos, but I think that what really needs to change is from the company's perspective of opening up the doors to somebody who, might not be degreed but has the experience that you're looking for, or has, kind of an equivalent. And I've started to see that personally. I've started to see that a little bit where it was like, degree preferred or relative or relevant experience in lieu of the degree. And I think that that's great. It kind of, I think, still keeps your pool that you're searching through or sifting through small enough to where it's manageable, but it still allows people who didn't do the traditional route of college to, come in there and potentially wow you. So yeah, that's my take on college. Is I don't think it's worth it. Depending on what you're doing, but all in all, in general, I don't think it's worth it. I think do something different. Why not? Why not do something different? College will always be there. If you're going through life and you're like, man, I cannot find a fucking job because all these places want a bachelor's degree. Go get a bachelor's degree. Work at McDonald's for a few years and get your bachelor's degree if that's holding you back. Except I haven't experienced that. I know lots of people who are in positions of power within companies, who are in managerial and director positions, that don't have degrees. They're doing fine in life. So, who knows? On to topic number 2. What's worse, to have somebody piss or shit on your mom's grave? I love the transition. And that's what this is. This is just absolute, utter fucking nonsense. I love it. I really hope that this is like what I do here with this podcast, this show, whatever you want to call it. I hope that it always continues to be this, just absolute fucking chaos. So, like I said, I saw this from another creator or creators. They were talking about this, I think it was like a Reddit article or something like that, where the ex-husband was defecating on defiling the mom's grave. So apparently the woman in question, the mom and the ex-wife, passed away, and the kids periodically going and visiting kept noticing like large piles of feces on the grave, or even urine if they were if it was fresh enough. And so after a while, you kind of start to think like, man, that's kind of big for a rabbit or something, or like a deer maybe. I don't know what part of the country they were in, but so you start to notice that something's fishy, right? You just, every time you come back, there's a pile of shit on your mom's grave. It just starts to make you wonder a little bit. So they kept asking like the cemetery attendees, the graveyard workers, because I don't know their actual title. Hey, have y'all noticed anything? Have y'all seen anything? They're like, no. So they asked permission to set up some security cameras, and they found out that homeboy I'm guessing their dad. No, it didn't. It never said dad. I guess it just was this woman's ex-wife, or sorry, ex-husband. Um, was just coming back every now and then, every so often, and just popping a squat and just dropping a big old heater right on Mama's grave. Just right there, or just letting letting loose the main vein, draining the main vein, as they say. So the question is, which is worse? Which is worse? And I know that kind of sounds like a dumb question, like they're both horrible, but I feel like one is worse than the other, right? I feel like, and I think what most people are gonna say is like, obviously the shit is worse, but let's ponder this for a second. Let's think about this for a second. Like, yeah, the shit is worse, but the pee is gonna like seep down into the ground, right? Like that's gonna be going down in there, and it's just gonna go down in the grave and just right there on top of Mama. But at the same time, like the poopskis, that's pretty bad as well. And rain comes and but no, the other flip side of the poop though, the poopies, is that when the rain comes and it kind of washes it away, that's fertilizer right there, right? So now you got these beautiful bouquets of flowers growing on top of Mom. So I don't know. Because obviously the poop feels more disrespectful just kind of right off the bat. But I also feel like, though, that's a bit disrespectful to him, because is he bringing toilet paper with him? Or is he just, on his morning commute, stopping by Martha's grave, just popping a squat, and then going into the office with a poopy butt? Nobody wants to go into the office with a poopy butt. So I feel like, while that may seem more disrespectful to the mom, unless he's just walking around with a roll of TP in his car for this specific situation, I feel like that's bad. I feel like that's bad for him too, right? So it's like she's kind of getting a little bit of revenge because he's got to go into the office with a poopy butt. He's got to go work an 8 to 5 with doo-doo in his trousers. I feel like the pee is better on his end. Like, that's better for him because he can just whip it out, do his thing, put it back, and he's gone. He's done. He's gone, right? There's no repercussions for him. There's no backlash for him. So I had another point that I was going to make, but I don't remember what it was. I just feel like the poop is disrespectful. But for some reason, the pee just feels more just in your face. It's kind of like if somebody were to come up and like hit you out of nowhere, right? Like just a stranger on the street just came up and just got you right in the jaw. You'd be so confused, so dumbfounded, so just in awe, in shock. Not in awe, but in shock. You wouldn't know what to do, right? And like just getting sucker punched out of nowhere on the street, super disrespectful. But now, imagine somebody comes up and just right in your face. Random stranger on the street just comes up and just spits right in your face, right? Like, getting hit, obviously. Big, huge, why'd you hit me? There's no reason to hit me. Somebody walks up and just spits in my face. I'm pulling out a gun, right? Like, it's less intrusive in a way. Like, there's no physical harm. It's the getting hit is the more like it's hurts. There's physical pain. It's gonna leave a mark. Like, that's the more grandiose out of the two, right? Somebody comes up on the street and just cleans your clock, just rock'ems your sock'em, right? People are gonna be like, "Oh my god, what the hell's going on?" Somebody comes up and just spits in your face, right? It's 10 times, 20 times more disrespectful, even though there's no like physical harm to you. You might get like a little bit of like, I don't know, like HPV. Can you get that from like, what is like a like the, or like the herpes on the mouth? I don't know. You can get something from people spitting in your face, I think, and it like getting on your lip. I don't remember what it was. Mono? No, that's the kissing. Maybe that's the one. I don't know. But nobody's really gonna. I mean, unless somebody like physically witnesses the act, nobody's gonna be like, "Oh my god!" You know, from across the street, they're gonna stop what they're doing and be like, "Oh my god, did I just see that?" Like it's not as extreme in the sense of like a performance. It's not as grandiose. It's not as just, you know, wild as just getting hit. But I feel like, but the spit in the face, 10 times more disrespectful, right? And so maybe that's what's similar here, is that, like I said, there's no repercussions for him. It's almost just like, see, I don't know. I'm going back and forth now. I really am. I'm contemplating it because they're both so deliberate, right? Like you're premeditating this. Maybe less premeditation on the pee, because I feel like you can hold in a poop more than you can hold in a pee, right? Like you might get kind of like the goosebumps and the chills up your spine when you really, really got to poop. Like, y'all know what I'm talking about. Like when your like hair on your arm stands up, you got like goosebumps. Like there's a little chill up your spine right before you start puckering the old beehole, right? You just start clenching that sphincter. Yeah, I feel like you can hold that in a little bit better. But when you gotta pee, bro, and I'm talking about you really gotta pee, like you gotta pee, right? So I feel like a pee is like a little less intrusive, or sorry, less premeditated as opposed to the poop. But and at the same time, like I wonder if he was like pre-planning his meals for this little poopscapade, I'm gonna call it, right? Little poop escapade, little poopscapade. Was he planning his meals? Like, is he like, I'm gonna go see Deborah tomorrow. I'm gonna go get Taco Bell right now. Just hold it in. Just let that one marinate. Just let it steep. You know, was he planning Taco Tuesday around going and seeing Deborah's grave, or was this like completely just, was it just that random? And he's just like waking up in the morning, just like, you know what? I feel like going and literally shitting on the ex-wife. I couldn't imagine. And then the biggest part of it was that the kids were the ones who found this out from the security cameras. Now I'm trying to think from their perspective, right? If I found out that somebody was pissing and or shitting on my mom's grave, I would be absolutely furious. I'd have to kill them. But which one would be worse, right? Because like I said, like you got all those little pee molecules going down into the ground, leaking right onto your mom, or on her casket. That's not good. It's not good for the environment either. Like I really don't feel like peeing is like good for, like pee is good for grass, right? Maybe it's like, it might not be like hurtful, but I don't think it's going to be helpful to the grass. So I don't know. I don't know which is worse. I feel like, I guess the poop would have to be worse, right? Because it's more like sending a message, right? Like it's deliberate, it's intentional, it's premeditated. You're sending a message, because that's gonna stick around. Like the pee he pees is gone, right? But the poop sticks around. That's gonna stick with you until you go see mom again, right? You're going to pull up a nice little bouquet of flowers. You've been thinking about all the words that you're going to say to her all week. You've been missing her. You've been wanting to go and see her. You've been just missing her, wanting to, just talk to her a little bit. You've been preparing what you're going to say to her. And there it is. Big old pile of poop. Just right there next to her headstone. So you got to lay those flowers down and talk to Mom and give it smell a little bit. Yeah. No, I think the poop's got to be worse. Even though that there is consequences for the ex-husband, right? Walking in to the office with a little doo-doo in between the cheeks. I think that the poop's got to be worse. I really do. I'm trying, yeah. No. So we solved all the world's problems here. We found out that degrees might not be worth it. And we found out that pooping on somebody's grave is disrespectful. So I'm going to officially change this from a comedy entertainment podcast to educational. Because ultimately, I know I learned a lot from this. I learned a lot about myself and found out that I might actually be going insane because I just sat here for almost 45 minutes talking to nobody but my own consciousness. And every single one of you got to experience that just a little bit. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we got to go through this journey together because nowhere else can you find a complete just stream of my conscious, maybe somebody else's. You might be able to find that somewhere else, but you can't find mine anywhere else unless you're around me during any part of the day, because I have a tendency to just kind of do this everywhere that I'm at and just kind of talk, just kind of chit chat with what I can only assume to be the voices in my head, maybe. They're not really voices. It just all kind of comes together into a little bit of like a personality that's like mine, but it's just out there. So, but like I said, I had no idea what I was going to talk about. I'm really surprised that I made it to almost 43 minutes. Probably 45 by the time I get done with this. But yeah. This was fun. I'm glad that I did this. Makes me feel better about the shitty work day that I had. This may be the dumbest, most just boring podcast or episode to ever listen to. But I'm going to use this as my own form of free therapy because therapy's kind of expensive. Lots of people said that I should get into it. I've been trying. I can't afford that shit. So, you know what? Y'all are going to be my therapist. This is going to be my form of therapy. I'm hoping to get somebody else onto this podcast here pretty soon. I'm hoping to get some friends and stuff, maybe some guests, maybe my brother, because he's funny at times. So who knows? Maybe you just won't have to listen to me blab on for an hour. But we'll see. Like I said in the last episode, I have no idea what this is going to turn into. I have no idea what it's going to be. I don't know. We're going to see where it goes and see where it evolves. I'm just happy to be doing it and just happy to have you as a part of it. So thank you very much for listening if you made it this far. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.